Ryan Humiston is the biggest hypocrite in YouTube fitness. Now, if you're a Ryan Humiston fan, you should unsubscribe from his channel and subscribe to mine instead if you want some actual, real, genuine information that can actually help you get to your goals. The first reason why he is a hypocrite is that he is on steroids. Steroids. He's been on steroids for many years. He's on at least TRT right now. And you have to realize that, one, he's not going to talk about it. No one's going to talk about steroids. No one's going to admit that they're on steroids. And he doesn't really talk about this in large part. However, you have to realize steroids isn't just like a little addition in how big you can get or how muscular you can get or how lean you can get. They change everything.
What do steroids change?
Everything.
Okay, everything changes once you inject, okay? You can gain more muscle, you can gain it faster, you can train harder, or you can train not hard at all and still make awesome progress. It's just how it works. They've done studies. People who take testosterone, not even a ton of testosterone, not even other compounds, just testosterone, gain more muscle and strength when sitting on the couch than people who are natural and busting their asses in the gym. Okay, so steroids do change everything, and this is why this style of training works. This type of like isolation, feel the pump, the squeeze, the contraction, the connection, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That's why it works for someone on steroids. They don't need to use the workout to actually stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Okay? If you're natural, you do, because you're not going to be stimulating muscle protein synthesis with what you are injecting. Furthermore, if you're natural, you have to use the workout to actually spike testosterone. Well, you don't have to, but it absolutely helps. If you're injecting testosterone, you don't care because your balls are already shriveled up little raisins and they're not going to be secreting anything anyway, regardless of what you do.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
And therefore, this type of isolation pump work might actually be ideal. But if you're natural, absolutely not. A steroid user giving advice to a non-steroid user is like a fighter jet pilot talking to a race car driver and saying, just go up. You'll go so much faster if you go up. Okay, it's a different perspective, it's a different game, and it is really not the same whatsoever. And most people watching his channel, most people on YouTube fitness in general, most people in the gym, probably 80 to 90% of people are beginners. And these kinds of people shouldn't be focusing on this isolation BS because it is imperative that they actually get stronger. Strength and size are going to be highly correlated, especially when you're a beginner. And if you're a beginner, you're not even a race car driver. You're riding a bicycle. And so some asshole in the sky telling you to go up is the last person that you should listen to. Secondly, he didn't train this way to actually build his physique. Even with steroids, he was doing heavy compound movements. Deadlifts, squats, bent over rows, bench press, all these basic movements that actually build up a real physique. Even with steroids, he is absolutely hypocritical because he built the vast majority of his muscle mass with these basic movements. Okay, so if you want to actually build a large amount of muscle mass, you should be focusing on these basic compound movements. They're the basics for a reason. Sure, if you need that dopamine release, if you have no attention span whatsoever, you can add some of this party trick, circus style, feel the pump contraction, angles to the end of the workout. If you really want to, you can just tack that on. You can tweak the exercise a little bit, but it should be a tiny fraction of what you're actually doing. I would say probably at a maximum, a quarter of what you're doing. And that's actually probably pretty high. For most people, I would say it should be at most 10%. If you really have no attention span, sure, go up to 25%, but don't make it the majority of your training. Secondly, you don't know how he actually trains now. You don't know if he's actually doing, heavy compound movements when he's not on camera. His videos are very short. He has like 50 freaking videos on biceps, but that doesn't mean he does all of them. Do you think he does all of these movements in his fucking training? No, he's Athlete X 2.0 who is clearly on steroids, and he found a way to get people to click. That's all. After his first video on biceps, he was like, oh, well, this did really well. I guess I'll turn out 49 more videos on biceps. It's intellectually dishonest at best. Another factor is that it is comforting. Squatting, it's hard. It's really hard. Deadlifting, power cleans, power snatches, bench press, overhead press, pull-ups, weighted dips, weighted pull-ups, etc. Those are difficult movements. They require a lot of focus, concentration, attention to do them correctly. And if you don't want to put in that effort and you have some asshole on the internet saying, oh, don't worry about that, these exercises are shit, there's a better way, come with me and do some cable flies. Of course, it feels comforting. You want to believe it. It is a lie, but it is a comforting lie. And people go down this rabbit hole and you might get some results. I'm not saying you can't get any results from this style of training, but there is a level of nuance that he doesn't actually talk about in his videos. I'm not going to say you can't get any results from these isolation style movements. And, it's not like I've never done a cable fly in my life, but they have a time and place. And that time is at the end of your workout in a small amount, or maybe at the beginning to pre-activate the muscle, but they should not be the bulk of your workout. When he says he did an hour and a half of cable flies and that, was a great workout, okay, maybe it was, but this is not something that you should be doing on a regular basis, especially if you are natural. By the way, he seems like a nice guy. They always do, don't they? Like, very charismatic and funny and charming, and, he's funny. He's funny as fuck. I actually like him. He seems to have a very entertaining style of presenting information. He's certainly unique, which is good, but he's straying so far off the beaten path by talking shit about progressive overload, for God's sakes, and compound movements.
Because they fucking suck. Because they fucking suck. Because they fucking suck. Because they fucking suck.
Because they fucking suck.
That he really needs to check himself, and it's okay to do some cool, interesting stuff, but come on, okay? Being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian is usually wrong. And in this case, it's definitely wrong. Next, let's talk about compound movements. Now, if you watch his channel for any length of time, he makes it seem like if you do a deadlift, your spine just rips in half. If you do a squat, your patellar tendons fly off and hit people in the face. If you touch the barbell on a bench press, of course, your shoulders just disintegrate. And that's just not the case at all. Most compound movements are very safe if you do them in a safe and effective way. Just because someone gets hurt when doing an exercise, that doesn't mean it's a bad exercise. It might not be suited for them, or maybe they did it like an asshole. And most people that I see getting hurt with compound movements, it's because they do them in an incorrect manner. And that doesn't mean the solution is isolation movements. It means that the solution is not lifting like an asshole. Simple. Next is the even more ridiculous assertion that progressive overload doesn't work. It absolutely does, and that's been shown over decades, if not centuries. Progressive overload absolutely works. He makes the argument sound like if you add weight to the bar, of course your technique gets worse. But that's not necessarily the case. Poor technique is a choice. If you overload sensibly and responsibly, you can keep good technique with a greater weight because you're getting stronger. That's the point of doing these movements, to get stronger and let your body adapt. If you put the cart before the horse, like he does, and think, oh, I always have to go up in weight, and of course my form will get worse, that is a completely backwards way of thinking about it. Go up in weight when you can. That is the whole point of progressive overload. You get stronger, then you add weight. You don't add weight, and then your technique catches back up. That's just a really stupid way of thinking about it, and I guarantee when he was training hard, he progressively overloaded. Maybe now he's really messed up because his technique was bad, but that doesn't mean progressive overload is wrong. Plus, again, steroids changes everything. Finally, I never thought I would make a video where I had to defend progressive overload of all fucking things and compound movements. If you don't want to do those, you don't have to, but you cannot deny that they are extremely effective and they are the basis of almost every single weight training program for a reason. If you want to get stronger, if you want to build muscle, they are absolutely critical. And, just because some guy has 500,000 followers and he tells you not to do them, it doesn't debunk decades of research. And honestly, it's very disappointing. As someone in the YouTube space, in the fitness space, creating content, for me to see someone attacking these core beliefs of weight training is really just astounding. And reading the comments on his page was extremely disheartening. People just lapping this bullshit up. Him presenting this bowl of fresh fecal matter, steaming, festering fecal matter, and people being like, yes, please, I'll take more of this, was, really just disappointing as a content creator. And, seeing someone get more subs in a week for putting out this kind of shit than I've ever gotten in months and months it's pretty crushing, and, let me know what you think, if the industry is getting better or worse. But I see this kind of shit more and more, and it's honestly just really, really disappointing. So, sorry to end the video on that kind of note. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. By the way, I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm just saying he's full of shit. You can be a good person and full of shit. You can be a bad person and not full of shit. He's a good person, maybe, who's full of shit. So make sure you get that right. I'm not saying, hating on him. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm just pointing out his bullshit. That's all.